This is NDTV. And you're watching Ndtv-Hindu.
Eight on the clock, and this is your prime time bulletin. Headlines now on Ndtv-Hindu. It's a power-packed bulletin that's coming your way. Good evening. I'm Evelyn Matthew.
Hi, I'm Sanjay Pinto, and I'll bring you special discussions on two news developments that most of you would probably be discussing at your dinner table. One on the controversy over yesterday's Chief Secretary and today's Chief Information Commissioner, and also why a case has been registered against a young man who was run over by a police officer's jeep in Kanyakumari, and nothing, I repeat, nothing has been done against the cop's driver.
That's right, plenty coming your way. Let's also take a look at what else is making news tonight. The arrested whistleblowers are released after protesting against the appointment of a new Chief Information Commissioner.
I have no response to that because there is no truth in it. As simple as that.
A 25-year-old in Kanyakumari comes under the wheels of a cop's jeep that rams into his bike, but the police say it was his fault alone. Young ladies with mighty surnames paint the city not red but white in a bid to make the slums of the city ever clean, ever green. If you're living along the Chennai's metro line, you are sitting on a gold mine. Property Gurus gives it a thumbs up for investment. And if there's anything more that's worth more than a fat-paying corporate job, it's the beautiful game and an academy for the sport. Well, those are our top stories. A quick scan of the national headlines as well. The Home Minister asks not to read between the lines when he says saffron terror says it's anyway not patented. The Pakistan team manager stands up for his men while the tainted trio are being questioned. They miss a friendly match tomorrow. Starting 7th September, a 4-pack security backed by the army men to guard Shera and his gains. And it's going up and away. Gold inches closer to the 19,500 rupee mark this festive season.
There was high drama outside the Raj Bhavan today. The state got its new Chief Information Commissioner as RTI activists cried foul. The man in the hot seat, none other than K. Shripati, who yesterday was the Chief Secretary of the state. Activists claim Shripati has a bad track record as far as transparency is concerned, and that's ironical, they say, because the CIC's job, after all, is to ensure transparency in the system. Sam Daniel has more.
Tamil Nadu's new Chief Information Commissioner in charge of ensuring transparency. Till Tuesday, LK Shripati was the Chief Secretary, accused of blocking many RTI queries. But less than a day after his retirement came his new appointment, shrouded in secrecy, leading to protests like these outside the Chennai Raj Bhavan, even as the governor was swearing in Shripati. Activists say the selection of the top bureaucrat, seen as Chief Minister Karunanidhi's Man Friday, smacks of conflict of interest.
Tomorrow if an issue comes up where the person who appointed him comes up, obviously he'll be biased.
I have no response to that because there is no truth in it. As simple as that.
Days ago, opposition leader Jayalalitha alleged she was not given details of the candidates being considered, even though she was on the selection panel. The ruling DMK has said it only followed the precedent set by Amma. Clearly, the Information Commission is turning into a preserve of retired loyal bureaucrats. With 21 more information commissioners due for retirement in the next few months, now it's up to the government to make sure that this office does not get occupied by officers with old mindset. In Chennai, with camera person Edwin, Sam Daniel, for NDTV.
All right, for more on this, we are joined by Mrs. Sudha Rambalingam, advocate and National Vice President of the PUCL. Ma'am, thank you very much for joining us on this special bulletin. Ma'am, good old days we used to have, in fact, we continue to have the practice of retired judges being appointed as a one-man commission of inquiry. So is the Chief Information Commissioner's post also going to go that way, ma'am?
It has gone that way. It's not just going to go, it's gone that way. I suppose it's high time we also start a movement against reappointment or giving appointments to retired people. They could do honorary service, but not service like this. Okay. It has more powers and also money in it.
I want to show you this. I mean, this is again an irony, a supreme irony, ma'am, because this post is meant to actually ensure transparency. But this is in fact all the information that was put out in the public domain, at least to the media, that it says swearing in of the Chief Information Commissioner of Tamil Nadu, no name mentioned. Was this to keep RTI activists and people like you at bay?
Yes, this shows that how intransparent the state is. The very act which speaks about transparency and good governance is going to be at the hands of a man whose name also was not published by the state. And
are you saying, ma'am, procedurally that there was a flaw there, that because in that panel, again, the Chief Minister, the leader of the opposition in this case, Ms. Jayalalitha, AIDMK General Secretary, also
was
one
really
minister
not
nominated.
consulted.
She was not. She said she was not consulted. And also, is it mandatory for her to sign the file? I mean, she didn't participate in the meeting.
See, the entire thing is they could always say there is a majority because there are 3 persons in the panel and 2 would have
But
signed.
even then, should you go through the motions, ma'am? Does the act specify that?
In spirit, it should have been done. But on paper, when there is a majority, they would always say it is already done by a majority, and the state speaks about a precedent. Last time, nobody asked for it. Now the opposition leader has asked for the file. She has asked for particulars. There was no agenda put forward to her meeting also. So the entire process of consultation was a farce and a sham. It was a sham process which was initiated by the state. I don't think it really was a process of discussion and informed choice.
To be fair, I mean, to make this balanced, what exactly is the principal objection of RTI activists, of these people who are leading these protests against Mr. Sripati? Because otherwise he has a fairly clean record, many would say.
It's definitely not against one single individual per
because
se.
they are opposed,
of
they are saying
course,
that his
Mr.
track record is
Sripati
not.
also has ensured that the state is not transparent. He also worked towards non-disclosure of the assets of the IAS and IPS officers, so forth, so on and so forth. But the entire exercise is not against one single individual, namely Mr. Sripati or anyone. The entire exercise which the RTI activists are now talking about is that there should be a fair manner of calling for applications.
There are 2 parts to this as we see it. One is the manner in which he was appointed, which
Yes.
this particular individual officer was appointed.
Yes.
And secondly, you're saying also the track record of this officer when it comes to RTI applications. But was he really going by the book in that sense? Because the RTI itself, if you look at the act, I mean, you have section 8 there, where there are exemptions rather, like for instance, the Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption. Of course, current cases under investigation information cannot be disclosed. Do these clauses, does section 8 of the act actually militate against the rest of the other provisions of the act itself, ma'am?
Yes, definitely. When you're talking about real transparency and against the Official Secrets Act itself, a man who has till yesterday been part of the system which was secretively ensuring that the Official Secrets Act will be at the forerunner and not the RTI, cannot now be given the power of leading a transparent organization. And this entire thing is without also a proper process of discussion, and there seems to be an urgency to bring in a retired person who would be pro-government, who has been pro-government till yesterday. He led the entire team yesterday.
But we know, ma'am, in a politicized bureaucracy today that we have across the country, especially in Tamil Nadu, officers get branded very easily. Some, of course, it's a different matter. They manage to have their bread buttered on both sides. That you have to, in fact, the person who pays the piper calls the tune, in a sense here, that you have to be loyal to the powers that be. So in that sense, he was doing his job, many would say.
Yes, he did his job, but his job cannot, his profile does not fit into this profile which he now seeks to wear. The hat that he wants to wear now today is not the hat which would, I think, fit enough. And also justice is not merely to be done, it should seem to be done. So what happens here? We can't trust a person who has till yesterday been the spokesperson
but
of the state.
But are we prejudging it? I mean, are we prejudging Mr. Sripati's performance as CIC?
Definitely not prejudging the issue. It is a case where it is prima facie not proper to appoint a retired chief secretary who was a chief secretary till yesterday to adorn this post today. And there are so many other people. Does the state say that there are no other qualified persons?
It's not just
to
officers,
adorn
even an RTI activist can be appointed.
Yes, definitely.
You can be appointed too as a...
Don't want to be one. That's a different matter.
But the law provides for that. Anybody, any walk of life. A journalist can be appointed, a lawyer can be appointed.
Anyone could be appointed, and there should be some sort of transparency and also show a credibility. People should also feel, here is a person to whom I can go, I can approach. This is not a farce. What has happened is a farce. It is also something, the state seems to be appointing their spokesperson to lead an organization which is going to ask questions against the state.
So we are making a mockery of the RTI Act in a sense.
Definitely.
Also, ma'am, this exemption clause, most people, the common viewers who will be watching this bulletin, this discussion, will wonder, I mean, certain departments, the so-called sensitive departments, as long as national security is not compromised in any way, why should in the first place we have an exemption clause in a statute like the Right to Information Act? Isn't an exemption clause an oxymoron, ma'am?
Definitely. See, the entire thing is state wants to keep itself close. It doesn't want to reveal any information. It was after decades of struggle that we got this RTA itself. The act to come into to the table of the parliament itself to become an act, it took decades together. And what has happened is they wanted to ensure that there are more exceptions than the rules. And there was also a move to amend the RTI Act. NDTV was a forerunner in ensuring that such amendments do not take place at all. But what actually happens is the state at some point by some means or the other tries to deprive people of their information more because they do not want to be exposed.
All right. Final question to you, ma'am, on this subject. The protest today outside the Raj Bhavan, was that undemocratic to take? But they were not arrested in a sense, they were only detained because they've been let off now. They've not been remanded.
It was a preventive arrest under section 151 CRPC, and they could be kept without being produced before the magistrate when it was only 151 CRPC, and about more than 1,000 SMSs went to the DGP, to the Commissioner of Police, City Police Commissioner, as well as the DCP Adaya to release these activists. These three people stood in silence just with a placard and their eyes closed. That's all. They did nothing else. There was no
we will allow political rallies to go on and block traffic, but we will arrest these people.
Just 3 persons. It is not even unlawful assembly.
More than 5 only would be an unlawful assembly.
Yes.
So this was even.
So this was something ridiculous. This was an abuse of the entire power of the state itself.
Are you going to? I mean, I know there's some we've heard from the grapevine that you're going to file a PIL against the appointment. Is that true?
We'll have to think about it and try to do about it. No, we'll have to. It would be a process of discussion with all the other organizations and try to do something about it.
Thank you very much. But stay on in our studio because we've got another interesting discussion coming up. Is this a case of the fence eating the crop? At least a potential case of the fence eating the crop. What do you think, dear viewers? You can email us feedback@ndtv-hindu.com. Well, moving on. Is this a case of twisting facts to protect those who are meant to uphold the law? A 25-year-old man, Vinod Kumar, was caught below the wheels of that jeep that you see on your screen. That jeep belonged to the Superintendent of Police of Kanyakumari. The vehicle had hit Vinod's bike on the Bengaluru-Kanyakumari National Highway, where vehicles were coming in from Kanyakumari and were diverted to another track due to repair work. But now, in an apparent cover-up, the police have registered a case against the victim. How about that? Against the victim, who's no more. The cops claim that the victim was on the wrong side, forgetting perhaps that the track had been made two-way. Ma'am, you saw those visuals. Yes. Now, the right side, the right front wheel of the SP's jeep was damaged. And also, there was a yellow line there also. If we can probably also replay those visuals for our viewers, let the viewers decide for themselves. Of course, the matter will go to court as well. As you can see there, the right front wheel of that jeep has been damaged. That, of course, is the body of the victim there. And also in one of the visuals there, ma'am, we found that the police jeep had actually crossed the line, crossed the lane.
Yeah.
So, prima facie, what is it? I mean, I know looking at visuals, this may not be necessarily conclusive evidence, but there's some indication that you could get that. You can see the yellow line there and the jeep actually away from that. Did it swerve after the bike hit it or it hit the bike? We don't really know. But prima facie, what? I mean, as a criminal lawyer, ma'am, what do you think?
I think prima facie it shows that there was a rash and negligent driving by the four-wheeler driver.
As you can see that's that's the line there.
See, that shows that the jeep has crossed the central meridian, central line, and what happens is the front right wheel of the jeep hits the four-wheeler in front. So the four-wheeler was on the opposite side. The two-wheeler was on the opposite side of the four-wheeler. The four-wheeler has already crossed the central line and it hits him right head-on collision.
But in this case,
right
they filed a case.
It is prima facie. It shows that there must have been a rash and negligent act on the part of the four-wheel driver.
But normally, ma'am, most people will agree that in our country, it's always the bigger vehicle that's construed to be the offender, and the smaller vehicle, even if it's a darting cyclist, the smaller vehicle is always considered to be the victim.
Yes.
So, Again, are we sort of prejudging this case? What do you think?
No, I think it's very obviously obvious that the speeding four-wheeler has hit the two-wheeler which was on the right track. The
Do you think, ma'am, if you're a fair officer, should you have also asked for an investigation into the role of the driver? Should the driver, the driver, assuming that it was a driver who was driving the jeep and not the SP himself, the driver should have been sent for his blood sample should have been taken and sent?
Definitely.
And should a case have also been registered against the driver of the jeep?
Definitely, they should have registered a case against the four-wheeler.
If it had happened to a common man,
yes,
what would have happened in this case?
They would definitely have registered a case
against both parties.
Yes, or definitely it would have been against the driver of the four-wheeler because he has crossed the central line and he has also hit the other party head on. So it's obvious that it is the four-wheeler's driver who has committed a prima facie rash and negligent act, and rash and negligent driving today is a cognizable offence, non-bailable offence, and if it was an ordinary citizen, he would be behind the bars as on date and would be seeking for bail. Now what happens here? An FIR is registered against a deceased, and so there is nobody who is going to be answering for this offence. That could be other.
In fact, we must say that we did try to speak to the SP. He said he didn't want to comment. We spoke to several senior officials in the police department. They said that an investigation has been ordered and they didn't really want to comment. So we did give them a chance to come up with their version.
If you remember, we tried to register a complaint against an SP in Chengalpattu.
It's very difficult to file a case against a police officer.
Yes.
I know you tried to file a case even against an IPS officer in Jammu.
Yes, that's still pending. And
it takes a crusade, ma'am, to file a case against a police officer.
Yes, it is a big crusade. If you can remember, we were together to file a complaint against an SP in Chengalpattu.
Yes.
At Marimalai Nagar, all of us were there. It took us a whole day for getting one local registering this just as an LP
petition.
So this is how it goes
on. And imagine for a common man to go to a police station, what legal recourse is open to the family of this victim, ma'am?
Because the victims
eyewitnesses on the highway, I don't know how many eyewitnesses they'd be able to actually come up with.
They can definitely get a compensation. The vehicle would have been insured also.
Hopefully, let's hope it was insured.
Even if it's not insured, the state will have, whoever is the owner of the vehicle will have to pay up through that.
But who's going to speak up for this family?
The MSC
against the might of the state, the district police administration.
The State Legal Aid Services Authority has got good panel of lawyers who do fight for the justice of these victims on the road.
We must also say, ma'am, there are several cases, to be fair, where senior police officials in Tamil Nadu, I can name many of them also, who have, in fact, wherever they have seen an accident victim, they have put these victims in their own cars and rushed them to hospital.
Yes.
So there have been outstanding Good Samaritan officers in Tamil Nadu as well. We really don't know the facts of this particular case entirely because our information is limited to the visuals we are seeing, also to the information that we are getting from, in fact, the few people who were there on the spot after this happened, and also from various versions within the police department itself.
I think it is high time the SP comes out and gives a
comes clean with this and says exactly what happened.
Really happened, because we are not.
Maybe you need an RTI. You need an RTI application into this as well.
Maybe if the SP tells the public at large, they will also have a confidence to understand that the process of law has been set in motion in a true, fair, and honest manner, which would give confidence for people to believe the district administration.
All right. Thank you very much, ma'am, for sharing your views both on both these important news developments today that most people would really be discussing over dinner as well as in their offices and places of work tomorrow as well. Thank you very much, ma'am, for joining us as always. Evelyn?
Thanks very much indeed for that. This is Headlines Now. Still ahead, the lawyer in our Home Minister talks patents while defending his remarks. And it's perhaps waka waka time once again. Up on the other side, meet a young lass who lives her passion.